One regulator on this exam writes the rules and isn't allowed to enforce a single one of them. That's not a loophole. It's the design. It's written down in that regulator's own published description of itself, and the exam tests it. And a second body on this exam sounds exactly like insurance, isn't insurance, and costs people the same question for the same reason. 12 of your 75 scored items turn on knowing which body does what, and this one split is where most of those 12 are quietly lost.
Lewis here. And the one people get wrong is the MSRB, the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board.
Sarah here. Congress established it in 1975, and its own published roll document calls it the principal regulator of the municipal securities market.
Principal regulator. That phrasing is exactly why people assume it does everything a regulator does.
And then the same document says, and I'm quoting it, the MSRB doesn't carry out the enforcement of its rules or conduct compliance examinations.
So it writes the rulebook for the municipal market and then hands the rulebook to somebody else to actually use.
To 3 somebody else's. The document names them FINRA, the SEC, and federal bank regulators share responsibility for enforcement and compliance examinations.
Which is a strange shape until you think about who the municipal dealers actually are. Some are broker-dealers, and FINRA already examines those. Some sit inside banks, and bank regulators already examine those.
So rather than build a second examination force from scratch, Congress had the MSRB write the rules and let the existing examiners carry them. And it's worth knowing what the MSRB does spend its effort on, because it's not idle. Its own description lists writing the rules, running the market transparency systems that collect trade data and disclosure documents, and publishing education and market analysis. That's a working regulator. It simply stops short of the hammer.
And that's the exam answer. Rules from one place, enforcement from another.
So if it can't enforce, what's the point of it? That's the question I had the first time I read this, and it sounds cynical until you hear the answer.
May, can I push on the framing though? Calling it the regulator that can't enforce makes it sound weak, and I don't think that's right.
Say more, because that's a fair objection, and it's exactly the kind of thing a question can hinge on. Let me pause for just a second, because this genuinely helps. If you are getting value here, hit that like button, then subscribe and ring the bell. It costs you nothing, and it is the single biggest thing that keeps these videos coming. Lewis pushed back on calling the MSRB weak, and he's right that weak is the wrong word. Separated is the right word, and the difference matters on the exam.
It's worth someone unpicking properly because the structure isn't obvious.
Professor Kalu studies how financial regulators are structured and pointed at this split before we started, so she should take it.
Lewis is right, and I'd go further. Separating who writes a rule from who enforces it's a deliberate safeguard, not an oversight. A body that writes the rules, judges the breaches, and collects the penalties has every incentive to write rules that are easy to breach.
So the split is doing actual work, not just tidying an organization chart.
It removes a conflict, and it also solves a practical problem, which is that municipal dealers don't all live in the same regulatory house. Some are broker dealers, some are bank departments. One examination force couldn't reach both cleanly.
So FINRA takes the broker dealers it already examines.
And the federal bank regulators take the dealers sitting inside banks, which they were already examining for everything else. The MSRB supplies the rulebook both of them apply, and the SEC sits above the whole arrangement.
And for exam purposes, is there a single question to ask yourself when one of these comes up?
One question, and it disposes of most of them. Is this item asking who wrote the rule or who enforces it? Those have different answers in the municipal market and identical looking answer choices.
So a question about a municipal rule being written points at the MSRB, and the same rule being enforced points at FINRA or a bank regulator.
Exactly that. And the distractor will usually be the other one, sitting right there looking correct.
Is there anywhere else on the exam where the same split shows up?
The habit generalizes, which is why it's worth building. Whenever you meet a body on this exam, file 2 facts about it rather than 1, what it makes and what it can do to you. Most confusion in section 1 comes from having only filed the first.
Professor Kalu, thank you. What it makes and what it can do to you is going straight into my own notes.
Lewis is the one who refused the word weak, and that refusal is what got us here. Keep arguing with your own summaries.
$500,000. That's the SIPC protection limit, and it's the number people remember correctly while completely misunderstanding what it buys.
This is the one I flagged at the top. It sounds like insurance on your investments. It's not.
The full figure first, because both halves get tested. The limit of SIPC protection is $500,000, which includes a $250,000 limit for cash.
So cash inside that account is capped lower than the total. $500,000 overall, $250,000 of it cash.
Now the part that decides the question, what does that money actually replace?
It replaces what went missing when the brokerage firm itself fails. SIPC restores the cash and securities that should have been sitting in your account.
And the cash sublimit is worth pausing on, because people read past it. If you had $400,000 in cash sitting in a failed brokerage, SIPC protection tops out at $250,000 of that, even though the overall ceiling is $500,000. The two numbers aren't interchangeable, and a question can be built on exactly that gap.
And SIPC says in its own words what it doesn't do. It doesn't protect against the decline in value of your securities.
So if you buy a stock and the stock falls, that's your loss. Every dollar of it. SIPC isn't standing behind it.
And it doesn't protect against losses due to a broker's bad investment advice, either. That's also their phrasing.
Which is a different remedy entirely. Bad advice is an arbitration or a complaint, not an SIPC claim.
So the clean way to hold it's this. SIPC answers the question, did my securities survive the firm going under? It never answers the question, did my investment do well?
So does SIPC cover me if my stock drops 40%? That's the version of this question people actually ask, and the answer is a flat no.
Custody, not performance. There's one more misreading worth naming. SIPC also doesn't protect people who were sold worthless securities, which is their own wording. So a customer who was talked into something genuinely bad has a real grievance, and it's still not an SIPC matter. The firm didn't fail, and the certificates are exactly where they should be.
And the exam distractor writes itself. An answer choice will describe a customer whose fund dropped 40% and ask whether SIPC covers it.
It doesn't, which brings us to the wider habit, because the alphabet in section 1 is where most of the 12 items actually go. So let's lay the whole alphabet out at once, because seeing them beside each other is what makes them stop blurring.
And this is the layout I wish somebody had given me in week 1.
Professor Kalu is back with us for this.
Start at the top and work down, because the hierarchy is the memory aid, the SEC is the Federal Securities Regulator, and everything else in this list operates underneath its oversight.
Then FINRA.
FINRA is the self-regulatory organisation for broker-dealers. It writes its own rules and examines and enforces against its member firms, both halves, which is precisely what makes the MSRB look strange by comparison.
So FINRA is the complete package and the MSRB is deliberately only half of one.
Which is the contrast the exam is built on. Then the MSRB rules for the municipal market only. No enforcement, no examinations.
And SIPC sits somewhere else entirely on this chart.
SIPC isn't a regulator at all, and that's the single most useful thing to know about it. It writes no rules, it examines nobody, it enforces nothing, it's a backstop that restores custody when a member firm fails.
So if a question offers SIPC as the body that disciplines somebody, it's wrong by category.
Wrong by category, which is the fastest kind of elimination available to you. You don't need to know the facts of the case. SIPC doesn't discipline anyone ever.
Is there a risk in leaning on categories like that? It feels like it could go wrong.
There's, and you should hear it, category elimination is fast, and it's confident, and confidence on a wrong category is worse than slow uncertainty. So build the categories from the source documents the way we did today, rather than from a summary someone posted. A wrong category eliminates the right answer just as efficiently.
Professor Kalu, thank you. Wrong by category being both the fastest tool and the most dangerous one is a fair warning to end on.
Sarah asked the question that needed asking. Doubt the shortcut before you rely on it.
So what should you actually walk away and do with this, because a list of 4 bodies isn't yet studying?
Take each body and write 2 lines about it. What it makes and what it can do to you. That's Professor Kalu's filing system, and it survives contact with the exam.
For the MSRB, line 1 is municipal rules, line 2 is nothing, it can't touch you. For FINRA, line 1 is broker-dealer rules, line 2 is examinations and enforcement, and do the 2 lines from memory rather than by copying. The whole failure mode in section 1 is recognizing a name and feeling like you know it. You will read MSRB, feel the warm glow of recognition, and pick the answer that mentions enforcement anyway. Writing the lines out cold is what turns recognition into knowledge.
And for SIPC, line 1 is nothing at all, and line 2 is nothing at all, because it's not a regulator. It only shows up when a firm fails.
And one more reason to build the 2 lines yourself, rather than borrow a table. Half the wrong answers in this section aren't wrong facts, they're facts filed under the wrong body. You will know perfectly well that somebody enforces municipal rules and still hand the credit to the MSRB, because that's the name the question put in front of you, and read the source documents rather than a summary. Everything we quoted today came from the MSRB's own role document and SIPC's own protection page, and both are a short read.
There's a genuine argument against that, though, and it deserves saying rather than being brushed off.
Go on, because I think you're about to make the case for the thing we just argued against.
Source documents are slow. If you've 3 weeks and 33 items of Section 2 still untouched, reading regulator publications isn't the best use of an evening, and a good summary table would get you most of the way.
Which is fair. So the honest rule is that it depends where your time is. Section 1 is 12 items. It doesn't deserve a fortnight.
Read the source on the handful that are genuinely counterintuitive, which is really just the MSRB split and what SIPC doesn't cover, and take a summary for the rest. Those 2 are where the exam actually hides its traps.
That I will take.
Next time we finish the regulator map, the remaining bodies, and who does what at each step of an actual trade. If one thing survives today, make it the split. The MSRB writes municipal rules and can't enforce them, FINRA, and the bank regulators and the SEC do that, and SIPC isn't a regulator at all.
Custody, not performance. Rules, not enforcement.
If you're working toward this exam, subscribing keeps the course arriving in order, and there are free practice sets on the site to drill section 1 against. So before you go, tell me, which pair of these bodies do you keep mixing up? Go and write your 2 lines for each one. This is May, and I will see you in episode 11.